Hello, I'm now moving on to chapter 4 in CADArtifex's Autodesk Fusion 360, a power guide for beginners and intermediate users. So we're in chapter 4, tutorial 1. Chapter 4 is all about constraints and dimensions, and we've already been seeing this in the previous chapters. I've been teaching it in my tutorial videos and kind of mentioning it in class. Kind of got ahead of myself because I was really putting some stress on getting everything fully defined, but in case there was confusion before about how to do that, this chapter really kind of spells out all the different constraints and dimensions and how you make sure and lock things in so that they're fully defined. So jumping into the first tutorial, we have this picture to work from. We have some symmetry here and just several relationships. Unfortunately, the drawings in the book don't show the constraints that are applied, but we know that they're there, and so we just kind of have to figure it out until we get everything fully defined. So jumping into Fusion 360, we need to create a new file and save it to chapter 4. And so I'm going to call this ch4tu1 for tutorial 1. Make sure it's saved in my chapter 4 folder. And now this drawing is on the bottom, so I'm going to create a sketch on this bottom face and get started from here. So this sketch, the book says that we should start off with a circle. So I'm going to hit C for circle, start it on the origin. That helps everything to be locked in place. And I'm going to create a 120 millimeter circle. And then I also need to do, so that is a 120 millimeter circle. That's the center circle. That is going to be in the image right in the middle. And then I need another circle as well. So I'm going to create that. And that is going to be 140. But that's a radius of 140, not diameter. So I need to make that 280. And that is going to be my outer diameter. So the book shows it as a radius, so I'm going to right click it and toggle radius, and then now I can see that. So now we're going to grab the center point slot tool. So create and then slot, center point slot. I can click on that center point. I can come over the distance that I need, which is, the total distance is going to be 550. So half of that would be 225. And I'll hit enter, and then it allows me to set this radius. So that radius, looking at the drawing, is a radius of 100, but it's asking me for the diameter here, so I want a radius of, or a diameter of 200. So same thing with that. I will right click it, make it a radius. So now I'm seeing my radius of 100 that I should have. So now I can do some circles. I'm going to grab the circle tool, and I want to do a circle right over here. When I kind of hover over that area, it comes up with a little triangle. That is the midpoint constraint. So it's going to constrain it to the midpoint along this arc. I could also create a circle somewhere out in space here, and I could have a little more control over the exact constraints I apply. So rather than doing the midpoint, I could select that, and I could do coincident with this line, say, and I could also make it coincident with this arc. And so now I have that attached. Now this is blue. I don't have this distance set, so I need to fix that. That distance should be 550. So I'll just do this line, actually 550, and set that. Now this circle is not set for size. I need to set it. It's a diameter of 50, and then there is a bigger circle around it that is a radius of 50, so a diameter of 100. Again, I'll toggle that to radius. It's kind of confusing how sometimes they give you the radius and sometimes the diameter. Fusion defaults to diameter for circles and radius for arcs, so it's kind of interesting how that works. So I can go ahead and do that again over here, but I could also create a mirror line. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to grab the line tool and make it a center line and just draw a line from the center point up somewhere. It doesn't matter the length. And then now I'm going to mirror these two circles. So I click one, hold shift, click another, and then select the mirror command. Select my mirror line and hit OK. So now I have all these shapes as I need, but I have some extra lines. So I'm going to grab the trim tool and trim off the portions that I don't need. So this still wants to move. Apparently it lost its tangency, so I need to add that this is tangent right here. Your mileage may vary, it may be slightly different for you, but basically when you have something blue, hit escape to not have any tools up and then kind of drag it around and see what's going on. So I'll just go back to that. When I dragged it up here, I noticed that's supposed to be a smooth line. It needs tangent. So we also need to trim these curves, and then this should be equal to up here. So I'll just make that equal, and then everything is locked in and we're done. So hopefully you can figure out how to get everything locked in. Sometimes it's kind of playing around with some of these different constraints. You can read in chapter 4 about what all the different constraints do. And my advice is just to drag your little blue lines around and see what's going on, why it's not locked in. If you can figure out why it's moving, then you can figure out how to fix it. Oh, I do need to add a couple more dimensions in. I should have this dimensioned at 750. It's apparently a driven thing because everything else is in relationship to each other. So I'll do that. And then now I believe I'm good to go. Let me show that some of it was cut off. So everything looks good. I'll hit finish and save.